Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the preview for patch 11.22. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Check out the rest of the content as well. We do fresh patch notes and tier lists for every patch. I'm going to see if I can start doing some more topical guides and just sort of prof talk commentaries over the next week or so about various things that are going on around the league. If you want to check out our stream, it's on Twitch most nights starting around 11:30 or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then going until about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come by, check that out. Very friendly, chill community. We'd love to have you. And let's go ahead and get in here. Okay, so not a lot of meta-defining changes. I don't think the Gore Drinker change here is interesting, so I guess we can start with that. They're giving it more defensive capabilities, but taking away from the offense a little bit. So if we go to League Gore Drinker here, it is a little curious, and this was getting memed on in the Twitter comments, that it's only been out of the meta, sort of, for like one patch, when it was nerfed last patch, and it's so dominant, just every champion keeps getting it. And I feel like it's still a pretty good win rate. I mean, let me look and see here. One champion that was getting commented on a lot in the Twitter comments was Riven, and the fact that Riven gets it because Riven is also getting a buff, which we'll talk about here in a second. So she does have a lower win rate right now at 48%, but how much has it changed over the last couple of patches? Not that much, honestly. I mean, in most, like, I guess right here, it is down. If you look at, I guess, like, platinum level play, she's down like 2%, 3%. So I guess it is, you know, it's pretty substantial. But they're giving a double buff here to her. So, I don't know. We'll see. Is Gore Drinker... It's about on par with the other items. So it's not like it's horrible compared to other items on her. I don't remember if she got specifically nerfed in the past or not. But that's someone who is getting talked about a lot. Kane obviously is, so we can take a look at Kane here as well, because he's also basically getting double buffed on this patch. Again, 48%, which is not great. But I just feel like there are a lot of other champions that just have not been relevant for years. I think that's what people are most frustrated with. It's not that, like, Gore Drinker didn't nerf champions. It did, right? Like, that was the reason that they nerfed it, right? So they thought those champs were too strong. And yeah, maybe it was a little bit overboard, but there's some champs that are just like, just haven't been relevant in a really long time, right? That they should bring back, like Heimerdinger or something like that. I think he was relevant as like an ADC replacement, you know, last year briefly, but for the vast majority of League's history, you know, he just almost never sees any play. So I would rather see them go through and find champions that have, you know, relatively low play rates, and try to find ways to make those champions more relevant. I think that's what people are more sort of annoyed about with some of these dial backs. It's not that certain champs have been like that people are mad that Riven's getting a slight buff or Kane. I think it's just that, like, there are these misfit champions that you just, like Aurelion Sol, Nico, Heimerdinger, Skarner. Like, these champs have almost never been relevant. Illaoi. So just finding ways to bring them back into the meta and make them relevant, I think, is a higher priority, because Riven and Kane, they're still being played, and I think that's what it comes down to is, you know, a lot of these changes are on popular champions, Riven and Kane, and it has a huge player base, a lot of people that are very vocal. There are a lot of skins people have bought for those champions because they're really cool, and so, you know, it's a good business decision to keep those champs in the meta. So I totally get that, but I think Gore Drinker's fine, as is, like, I don't know. It's still good. Like, it's still the most picked item on Riven. It's still the most picked item on Kane. I just don't think that it needs the nerfs. Or the buffs, rather. So, I mean, I guess they are messing with the defensive capabilities rather than the offensive capabilities, but still, I just don't think it needs it. I think it's fine. Okay, Renekton, we'll just go from the top here, but that's like the marquee one that everyone's going to be talking about. Gore Drinker gets buffed out of nowhere, and so many people are going to complain about that for the reasons I just discussed. Okay, Renekton, revert of the recent stun changes. This is actually massive. There's giving him back basically a half a second on his stuns. Now it's going to stun for 50% longer, which I think ultimately is a good choice. I mean, that's kind of his thing, is he has to dominate early because historically in most metas he falls off pretty hard late. And so you're kind of giving up a lot of power later by not picking something that scales better in a side lane like a Camille or a Fiora or something like that. So having Renekton be relevant is good. However, they are also buffing Gore Drinker here, and I'm pretty sure that's the item he's going to get. So this is a double buff to Renekton again, and he was a, you know, super dominant champion for a while there in top lane. So I just think that I like, well, he does have he has a 45% win rate, so he can afford a double buff. I think if something has a 48, you just kind of wait and see how it goes, but a 45 on a champion that really doesn't have that much skill expression just means the numbers are just way, way off on him. So he does need some more numbers. So I think that's probably okay. I'm all right if he's not in the meta. I don't think he's particularly interesting. I think he can be very dominant in pro just because he's so simple to execute and is very, very reliable with that, you know, basically point-click stun. When you have, you know, famously like a Nidalee coming in, or really almost any jungler that just has really punishing skill shot where they can just destroy you if they hit a skill shot. So, okay, that's fine. Riven, her W damage, so I believe that's her shield, right? Her E's her dash, her W's her shield. Yeah, so it's getting a bigger ratio. That's pretty significant. That's 20% more shield. I don't know if she maxes as first, or obviously not first, but like second or third. You're going to max your Q first, but that's pretty significant. 10 more damage and 20% higher shield plus the Gore Drinker change. So I think Riven is cool to have in the meta because she is a very skill-expressive champion. She is really hard to play, and so I would much rather Riven be in the meta than something like Renekton. But you don't want to overdo it, right? She can be, you know, really good, especially in solo queue. There are a lot of good Riven one-tricks out there, so. Anyways, Kane with Rast is now doing 6%. I think that's of someone's max HP per 100 AD off of the Q. Q is a pretty short cooldown. They did nerf that cooldown a while ago. So he has been hurt some by that. And then R max HP ratio. So I guess that's okay. As long as it's red Kane. I think blue Kane that was going for the Gore Drinker Sterix, I think that was kind of toxic just because he has so much mobility and he had so much survivability. So I kind of like that they're forcing you to go on to red Kane to get these buffs. I think red Kane is a lot more balanced than blue Kane is because he's slower, he can't rotate as well, and there's just more counterplay to him. He doesn't do as much burst damage, but he has a lot more survivability. So I think ultimately that's good. And the thing is, people are going to get grievous wounds against red Kane, so that's going to, you know, affect the Gore Drinker anyways. Versus when you're against blue Kane, if the enemy team doesn't have a lot of healing, it kind of feels bad to get grievous wounds just to deal with Gore Drinker, right? When you need to be buying armor or health or, you know, something else to survive the burst off of blue Kane, now you have to get grievous wounds on top of that. So grievous wounds just has more utility against red Kane because he has other healing in his kit and he's going to get Gore Drinker. So I think that's a much more balanced setup there. You really don't want blue Kane going tanky stuff, I don't think. Okay, Akali, passive, doing more damage. I feel like Akali's okay in the hands of good players right now. The 55% AP ratio is pretty significant. That's a lot of scaling on her, so we'll see. I think Akali is interesting, except for like her point-click ults. That's the thing that I think is most obnoxious. I wish it would be a skill shot and that there would be more counterplay to it. Like, I think, isn't it like the first or the second one is just like literally point click and you kill him, or turn it into one jump that like does more damage. I don't know. Like, I feel like the rest of her kit is okay. Like the smoke and kind of the cat and mouse trying to guess where she is and she's trying to land Qs on you. And then her E being able to escape stuff but also kind of lease in your way back in. I think that's fun. Like, there's a lot of counterplay where you can dodge stuff. It's risky to go back in like that, just like a Lee Sin Q, so you have those moments of tension. Is she going to do it or not? I think that part of her kit is really cool and is really fun. It's just the point click, you instantly die, you know, off of the ultimates once she gets fed enough, I think is problematic. I think it's more interesting actually when she is more of a bruiser type of champ that doesn't one-shot you with the ults. But either way, I think this is okay. Hopefully. This does encourage her to go for like more AP one-shot type of builds. Okay, Kalista, E ratio on, I think is her E, are those the spears? Like when you rip them out? Sorry, let me look this up. I'm pretty sure it is, and I think that's going to make her quite a bit stronger, if that's the case. Yeah, that's the spear rip. So turning it up to 70% is pretty substantial. Now, I think every spear, isn't it something beyond the first, only does a certain percentage damage? Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty good. That's going to add a lot of damage, especially later on. Now, the thing is, she doesn't stack that much AD. I don't think. She wants a lot of attack speed, right? So she's going to be getting things like Hurricane and Shield Bow. So she's not going to get that many AD items, so the scaling's not going to be that far out of control. And I think it's bonus AD, not total AD. Is that right? No, it is total AD. So that will help her out in the very early game snowball a little bit more. So that's okay. I think she's an interesting champ. She's hard to play correctly. I think there's a pretty good chunk of counterplay out there right now. So that's probably fine. Varus, this is a massive ratio on his E. I'm surprised they're going that hard on it because that is an AD ratio. And I think the strongest versions of Varus are the sort of lethality versions. Now, we'll have to see what they do with lethality in the preseason, but I kind of like this change rather than just focusing on the arrows and just like, is he a one-shot, you know, arrow type of champion, turning it into now he has multiple abilities that can do a significant amount of damage. I think that's good. So he was played in pro earlier. He was pretty dominant. I can't remember the exact nerfs that changed him, but that's okay. He's an interesting champion. He, you know, doesn't have any dashes or any escape, so he is going to be vulnerable to a bunch of kind of all-in burst champions. So I think that's fine. Okay, nerfs to Kiana. This is a massive, massive nerf in the early game of 70 HP. Now, she does get 20 per level, so she's basically going to be back, you know, within, 4 levels. So I guess it's just really for early game jungling primarily, or maybe all-ins and lanes that want to all-in you in the very early game. So it's kind of a weird change. I'm not really sure. I guess just to make her first clear weaker, because I think she's being played primarily in the jungle right now. Just to make her first clear weaker so that you can invade and punish her with like Lee Sin or Zen Zhao or something. And then her Q is going down, the scaling's going down, and it's going down by 10 base damage. I think that's fine. I don't think she was that dominant. Oh, there's more. Oops. Let's see. Her E is also going down by 40 damage. What? At max rank? Okay, that's a lot. That is a lot. 10% total AD and 40 down. Wow. Is she that dominant? The hell? Let me see. I mean, I know she's been played some at Worlds, but like 40 damage down. Her E's are dash, right? That's the thing that's like the guaranteed damage. I mean, okay, she's got a 65% win rate, but only 28% presence. Aphelios has a high win rate. Twisted Fate has a high win rate. LeBlanc has a pretty high win rate with much, much higher presence. So, I don't know. It feels weird to me. Let me see the World Championship itself here. Okay, so I guess this is in like, is this just quarters? I think this is quarters. She's got a 63% win rate. But it's such a low play rate though, right? It's only like 18% presence. I just don't think that's dominant enough. Like Lulu has a higher win rate. There are a lot of champs with higher win rates. Syndra, that have higher presences. or similar, right? Kennen, 72%. Rakan, 62%. Don't nerf Rakan. He's bad, I swear. Please listen to all the other tier lists. Don't nerf him. Lucian, LeBlanc. Yeah, I don't get it in terms of pro play. It doesn't seem that dominant to me in pro. And if we look at solo queue, it's 47%. Oh, sorry, camera's freaking out there. It's 47%. I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, maybe there are a couple of people in, like, Grandmaster and Challenger. I do not like balancing around Grandmaster and Challenger because those people are basically always smurfing, right? If you're in Challenger and you're playing solo queue, there's a large portion of the time you're going to get matched against Masters players or even high diamond players. And that's the big thing that no one ever talks about, is those aren't fair games, right? The people in, like, high Challenger they're not playing against their peers most of the time. They're playing against lower ranked people just because there aren't enough challengers on at any given time for match-made games, right? the balancing is just really messed up in, like, Grandmaster and Challenger. And so to look and say, oh, well, there's 3 people in the top, 50 of Challenger that play Kiana and have a 60% win rate on her. It's like, yeah, because they're, stomping, like, high diamond people. So, I just don't think that's a good way to balance. I mean, I would look at, high platinum, low diamond. That's already getting pretty elite statistically. And then look at pro play. Because, like, low diamond, high platinum, maybe even mid diamond, those are still going to be pretty fairly match-made games. Right? Those are still going to be, playing against other people within 1 or 2 divisions versus like a challenger, a 1000 LP challenger playing against a diamond is, even in terms of just divisions, they're going to be like 12 divisions higher or something than a diamond, like a diamond 2. So I don't like the change. I think, and it's so many nerfs. It's so many nerfs. And I think that she's an interesting champ. So she's just, like, you would think that she'd have a 54% win rate in solo queue, or that she would be, like, 90% presence in pro for these kind of nerfs. These are, like, 3 nerfs on the same patch. So, I don't know. I don't like it, but it's definitely going to stomp her out of the meta. I think that E change is just ridiculous. Okay, so Graves' pellet damage is going down to 20% damage. Oh, the crit damage. Now Graves has been getting played top quite a bit. He's still, like, okay in the jungle. Sometimes he's even getting played mid. I think it's weird, like, you don't want him in top lane from, like, a balance perspective. I'm not sure what his win rate is. It's 60%, so he's doing pretty well in pro with 74% presence. So, that's reasonable to pay attention to. Okay, I don't know if he can go anything other than the crit build. Obviously, he's going to go, like, shield bow. I think most of the time they are doing crit builds right now. So, okay, I guess that's fine. Kha'zix, I would nerf his armor, honestly. I think the fact that he gets, like, whatever the number is, like, 40 free armor just from staying in combat. I know that's kind of his thing with Grit, but I think that's just too many free stats, in my opinion. But, anyways, Kha'zix, this champion's really annoying, so on a personal level, I'm kind of happy he's getting nerfed. He just snowballs so hard, and I just hate the invisibility. But, okay, so he's going from 130% AD to 115%. That's a pretty big nerf. That's a massive ratio to begin with, though. Then his isolation damage is going down as well. Now, he has no presence in pro, I'm pretty sure. And in solo queue, I think he's at, like, 53% win rate or something, so I don't think statistically, or maybe it's like 52. It's like 53.5 for an assassin that's relatively hard to play, that relies on snowballing early. That is a bit high. So I guess I could see dialing that back a bit. Right, like on a tank champion that's really consistent, like Nunu or something, they're just always going to kind of have a high win rate. Or like Sona or something like that. They're probably always going to have a high win rate in a lot of elo brackets just because they're very consistent. They're easy to play, easy to execute. As long as their stats aren't garbage, they'll have a high win rate. But Kha'zix is not one of those champs. He's super snowbally. He can, solo carry games, and he's pretty difficult to play correctly in theory. So if he has a high number, that means he's a little overboard. He should be in like the 50 to 51% club, I think. Okay, Yuumi. Now this champion doesn't have a high win rate, but she is very, very good. It's just the inevitability. If you don't close out the game, you will probably lose to Yuumi late game, just because her stats and her scaling are so extreme, and there's almost no counterplay to her late game. She has an AoE root. It's like 1.5 seconds. It's a really long root. She gives stats to people. She can't be targeted. She has a heal that also increases movement speed and increases attack speed. She gets 950 gold in her pocket early on. She, can buy the cheapest and most efficient enchanter items in the game. So she just has too much going on. So I think you probably have to nerf her. I don't think, however, this nerf is going to be that substantial. So the E bonus movement speed, whenever you press E on somebody, I forget what the base is. I feel like it's like, when you max it, it's like 35 or something % bonus movement speed. I can just look at it, I guess. We do have the wiki right here. I want to say it's like 35%. Oh, it's only 15%. Okay. Maybe it used to be... Yeah, 35 would kind of be a high number. It was 45% attack speed for 3 seconds and doesn't decay. So that's pretty good. But, alright, so this does matter a little bit more than just because the base is so low. So, if you have Moonstone and then you're getting some benefit off of your W, you have Frostfang and stuff like that, you probably get to 100 AP off of your first item. You have AP runes. You probably get to about 100 AP off your first item, or pretty close to it. Maybe your first item and then like, an amp tome or something. So that means that, by 15 minutes or so, instead of giving out 25% movement speed, now you're going to be giving out 21% movement speed. So that's okay. You don't get a ton of AP throughout the game most of the time. If you go for like a Ludens build, maybe you get a little bit more. But I think this will definitely encourage like a Moonstone or a Shurelya's build over Ludens, which is already, those builds are already superior by quite a few percentage points across the larger population. So I think it's fine. It's fine. Like, she still gives out movement speed. It's okay. She still gives the attack speed, all the other stuff that she does. If they feel like they need to hit her a little bit, I guess that's fine. And then her heal, they are knocking off 20 heal late game, so this is going to matter, to an extent, but I still think she'll be good. People are taking grievous wounds anyways against her, so her heal's already kind of diminished. The scaling, I don't think matters as much for reasons I just described. But she's going to still get so much off of Moonstone. Like, the Moonstone healing is just so massive. So I think these are fair nerfs. I think this kind of hurts her, just E-max, E-spam late game a little bit. But I still think that she'll be effective. I think in the long run, what they're going to have to do is just make it to where she can't permanently attach to people and just do a soft rework of the champ. That's what I've been saying for a long time. So that, like, you can attach to somebody, with your W for 5 seconds, and you empower them and do all kinds of cool stuff, and then you unattach for 5 seconds. That would just fix so much, because she would have to be targeted, she would probably have to buy boots. You would obviously buff her other abilities, like lower her mana cost considerably, maybe give her more movement speed, or, just something. You'd have to buff her a lot in other areas to make her viable, but I think that's the one thing that just really makes her difficult to balance. Okay, come on! And then the final thing I'll talk about here is Maokai Support. Hi, Rory. Did you just get done playing? So they're nerfing, like, Tank Maokai, who does have a high percentage, but I just never see this champ hardly. Oh, wow. Let's see. That's her new turtle she made. That is fun. So, anyways, yeah, I think that, I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's weird. They, like, just buffed him. So now they're nerfing him again. I just don't think... Not a lot of people are playing him. I don't feel like he's obviously not being played in Pro. I mean, they're on a different patch than when he got buffed, I think. But even as a support, like... I mean, he's got a 3% pick rate. I get it. He's got a 53% win rate, but so does Blitz, Soraka, Sona. It just seems really weird. I don't know where it is. It might be downstairs on the island. Why don't you go downstairs and look? I think it's down there. So, okay. I mean, it's weird, and they're, like, double nerfing him, too. Okay. I mean, I think Maokai is cool that he's, like, fairly unique. He has the vision. He's got a lot of CC. I think he's got some unique properties for a tank, so it's kind of sad to see him nerfed like that. But that will hurt him a little bit. You know, probably won't be the end of the world. Probably like 52%. But my thing is just like, really? That's the pressing issue? The guy that no one plays with like a 3% play rate? I think they need to look a lot more at pick rates on champions, especially across like low diamond and lower, and really do something about the champs that have less than a 5% play rate, especially ones that have fairly low win rates as well. Because they're just kind of all over the place with this balancing. Like, obviously some things as they pertain to Pro need to be adjusted, right? So like Graves, yes, obviously his performance in the tournament is too strong. Gore Drinker, questionable. Obviously that's a hot topic for things. Renekton, yes, for Pro he's been gutted, right? So some of these are like interesting, but I feel like it's a lot of times, you know, they take the same 20 or 25% of the champions and they just shuffle them around, buff them and nerf them over and over again, you know, a million different times, and they just completely like cast aside all of these other champs. And that's what so many people in the League community like. They like playing weird picks. Like, they like discovering new stuff. Not saying, okay, well, I guess Kane's still like pretty strong, maybe a little bit stronger. Right? They want to try to discover new things. So I would just be more experimental, and on some of these weird champs, just, you know, do some weird things with them, you know, or at least buff them a little bit to bring them back into the meta. So, I mean, I know, again, like I said earlier, their business model revolves around, you know, there are just a handful of champs people really like playing because they like their kit, they like their skins, or whatever. Like Lux, for example, everybody plays Lux. She has a billion skins, all that kind of stuff. So I get it, you know, you got to pay attention to that stuff. That's what a lot of people care about. But I think some of these really, you know, unloved champs, or champs that have been out of the meta, you know, for quite a long time, they could spend a lot more time looking at them, right? Like Skarner, Nico. Like, Aurelion Sol is a unique, like, kind of interesting champ, you know? But he just never gets serious attention, right, to his kit. Or Heimerdinger. I think Heimerdinger is very unique, very interesting, very high skill cap. You know, there's a lot of ins and outs and different ways you can play him. So I don't know. I would much rather see, you know, some stuff like Heimerdinger come back into the meta, or Nico, you know, with her clones and being able to fake people out and stuff. I think she could be interesting. So Tarek, you know, he still has an okay win rate, but I don't know. I would just like to see them show a little more love to some Corki, to some of these like underrepresented, underloved champions. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you next time.